Third down and 20.
What is going on? Welcome back, episode 25, the big 2-5 of the 3rd and 20 podcast. My name is Frank Entwistle. We have a special guest on. We've got, from the 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast, Lounis Amirat. What is up, Lounis?
I'm good, man. Thank you guys for having me on, like a mini crossover pod.
And
I'm excited to be on this episode.
And as per usual, we've got my co-host, Ryan Steed. What is going on, Ryan? How you doing?
Yeah. Pretty good. Ready to get it rolling.
Yeah, so Ryan is no longer sick, thank God. Coronavirus scare part 2 for Mr. Steed.
Yeah, it was Rona Watch part 2. Survived this one, though.
Rona Watch part 2. So we're going to get right into this episode. There is a specific reason I brought my boy Lounis on here. Lounis is a big Eagles fan. And
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. And I wanted to do for this episode kind of like last episode where we did an analysis of Daniel Jones and asked whether or not I would keep Daniel Jones, not necessarily asking the question of whether or not I would keep Carson Wentz, but kind of going into an analysis of Carson Wentz and what's going on with the whole Eagles offense. I've been seeing a whole lot of stuff online of people saying, oh, Wentz should get benched. The Eagles need to find a new quarterback. And real quick, before we get into the analysis, Lounis, I kind of just wanted your opinion on the whole Wentz situation and whether or not you would bench him and just kind of your general thoughts on the whole thing.
No, I wouldn't bench him. Well, for starters, I don't think Jalen Hurts would be better than Wentz. Obviously, he's a different playing style, but you'd have to change your entire offense for him to be successful. And second, I already think he's in his head already enough, and we're gonna get into it more with his hesitancy plays and like him just being like kind of gun shy to throw. And I think if you bench him at this point, you kind of lose him. Like his confidence is gonna be completely shot. I don't know if he'll be able to ever go back to even like people bring up 2017. If he can even get back to how he was last season, where he threw 27 touchdowns to 7 picks. So he's having a bad year. I think currently they don't have an offensive coordinator, which I didn't understand heading into the season. Doug Peterson was just like, I'm going to do it myself. I think they hire one and bring in a new offense for next season before they get rid of Wentz.
All right. Well, with that being said, let's get into the analysis. All right. So, wrong play. So I like that you mentioned Carson Wentz's hesitancy, because I think that all Eagles fans can agree that Carson Wentz just hasn't really been himself, especially recently. You can blame the offensive line. You can blame the receivers. They don't have a 500-yard receiver right now, which is kind of ridiculous at this point in the season. But here's a good play that you actually showed to me of an example of Carson Wentz being hesitant. And you're going to see at the top of the screen, I'm actually going to get out of full screen here. You're going to see at the top of the screen, they're going to have a rub route. And this is just a really good example because you can see that Carson Wentz, there's a small window for him to hit this throw. It's really subtle. But you've seen it time and time again. You can see he's lining up for the throw here. He wants to throw it. He knows what's coming. He knows what he wants. And he just pulls it down for some reason and throws it late. And Lounis, you actually showed this play to me while I was watching film in other games. And how often have you been seeing this from Wentz?
It's been like repeated every single game this season. Like we're gonna bring up even more plays of him doing it, but he's seen like I don't know if it was those early. I mean, he's still throwing interceptions, but I don't know if it was just starting the season with a couple of straight games with 2 interceptions. But since the start of the season, ever since after like the first 2 games or so, he's been completely gun shy on a lot of his throws. And I brought up that play because even situationally, that's 3rd and 3 where they had to result in a field goal in a close divisional game. Or if he just kind of trusts his arm and trusts the play call, which would have worked, and just threw that right away, would have been complete. But because of that hesitancy, Bradbury was able to break on it, and they have to kick a field goal instead.
Yeah, and it's just weird to see that out of a guy like Carson Wentz, because coming in and beforehand in seasons prior, 2017, 2018, even 2019, he was a guy that was just a gunslinging quarterback. He was someone that was seen as he doesn't care about throwing into a tight window. If he sees something open, he's going to take advantage of it. But whether he's in his own head, whether it's because of the lack of an offensive coordinator, it's his confidence, I don't know what is going on. And speaking of that, what is going on, the pick six against the Browns last week was a really good example of what is he seeing? Is he in his own head? What is going on with Carson Wentz? In the post-game interview after this game, he said, oh, when I see someone open, I throw it. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. What does he miss here? He has Rager in the slot wide open.
And he looks at him too.
And he's looking right at him. What is he seeing? What is going on? Steed, what is your kind of prediction now? What do you think is going on in Wentz's head that he's missing plays like this?
You could clearly see that he's looking at him there, like y'all said. When I see him, Wentz is a guy who doesn't trust himself, and it's just kind of like how a second baseman in baseball or a pitcher gets the yips and can't throw a strike or can't throw the ball to first. Maybe he sees a wide open target and just says, I can't make that throw right now.
We'll get into some more of the blocking problems with the offensive line of the Eagles, but here's just a quick foreshadowing of what's going on. When I was doing my analysis of the Eagles, I wanted to say to myself, yes, we all know Carson Wentz is playing poorly, but what more than Carson Wentz is going on? And man, this Eagles offensive line just can't pick up blitzes. You see here, they have a green dog off this right side that we were talking.
Richard Rodgers completely
he just misses him. And you can blame Wentz for missing Rager here. But at the same time, he has the right idea. He doesn't like what he sees for whatever reason, and he goes to hit the check down, but is hit while he's thrown. You can blame this on Wentz all you want for missing Rager, but my God, the amount of missed blocks that you see from this team, we'll get into more in a couple of clips, but Jesus. And I think that my analysis of just Carson Wentz, not the other problems with the offense, can really be surmised with this one play here. This one example against the Giants. So what the Eagles are going to have called here is they're just going to have a levels concept. They're going to have two ins by these receivers on the left, and this tight end is running a basic, just 10 yards in. And you're reading the middle of the field linebacker. If they come up short on the digs, then you throw it to the basic to the tight end over top. If this linebacker's sitting deep, then you just throw it to the in route. And it's a fairly basic concept. This is something that NFL teams have been running for the past 20, 30 years, right? And, Carson Wentz, he just gives up on it. And this is another thing that I've seen, aside from him just hesitating on open concepts. I think it's the fact that he's really feeling the pass rush. He has the dig wide open in the beginning. And he snaps to it. He snaps to it right here. And I don't know why he gives up on this. I don't know why he can easily sidestep to his right a couple of steps and hit this. And even if he wants to wait in the pocket, Blake Martinez, this middle linebacker, is bombing forward. If he can buy a little bit of time in the pocket, he can hit this basic. He can hit this guy for a nice little play here. But for some reason, Carson Wentz, I think he's feeling the rush because of their offensive line problems. 9 different starting offensive line combinations coming into week 11 against the Browns. Just no consistency. Guys moving all around. He can't trust what he's seeing. And then he wants to leave the pocket.
I was about to say, going on that point, I think a big one right now. They've obviously had a ton of injuries, but something like this where I think it's pretty obvious the right play is what you said would be him stepping up in the pocket a little bit to the right and kind of stepping into that throw more, whether it be to that dig or just one of the people coming inside. But he just kind of just doesn't trust it, immediately goes to spin out of the pocket, and then we see what happens next. But I thought this is what you said, a perfect example of him trying to play hero ball and just do too much by himself.
Well, yeah, that's what I wanted to get into next is not only is he giving up on open concepts, is he hesitating on plays that he's seeing, he's just not confident to hit it in a tight window. Then he starts trying to play hero ball. Then he starts trying to put this team on his back. And I can see why he wants to do it. Their offense is really struggling to produce. He doesn't have those receivers that he can really trust. He's not trusting his offensive line. But you'll see all the problems that results from him doing these hero ball plays. You're giving up on a throw where you have 5 yards of space to a dig. And he says, "No, I don't want it. I don't want it." So that he can roll out and make this throw into double coverage, just backyard football route, easy interception for Bradbury. It's just a problem for Carson Wentz and this Eagles football team. And I can guarantee you this Eagles staff has been trying to get Carson Wentz to just take what the defense gives him. Coming into this Week 11 game against the Browns, in an interview with the production team, that was the main thing he hit on. I just got to do a better job of taking what the defense gives me. And, man, he has not been doing that. Here's a play against the Ravens. You're down 17-0 going into halftime. And Carson Wentz just makes these mind-boggling decisions. There's nothing here. There's a free rusher. Just take the sack. The guy is like the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. He should be used to taking sacks by now.
Yeah,
but he just wants to make plays so desperately. They are lucky that this isn't more points on the board for the Ravens. They could be going into this game down 24-0. Just hit while he's thrown. And it's not that this is just a one-off problem. It's not that, it's just one or two times a game this has happened. It's every single week, every single game, multiple times a game, he has these problems. Here's another example against the Cowboys. And now we're going to start transitioning into some of the other problems with the Eagles offense, because it's not just on Carson Wentz. Yeah, he hasn't been playing well, but he is not the only person guilty of playing poorly on this Eagles offensive team. So what you're going to have here is going to be 8-man pass protection. You're going to have, or 7-man protection with a fake to the back, supposed to be to the right. It ends up being to the left, which you'll see why this is a big deal. And you're just going to have this deep post over here with an over route, trying to suck up these linebackers and hit an over route behind. If the safety bites on the over, you hit the post one-on-one coverage against a corner. But you'll see, this is Jason Huntley, a guy they picked up off the street. Do I need analysis for this?
Completely wrong direction. And the linebackers don't bite at that at all.
This is Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith, 2 all-pro caliber linebackers. You think they're biting for this play fake here? Whole offensive
pick
line.
Up on that pretty quick.
Yeah, the whole offensive line sliding to the right. Carson Wentz opening to the right. Jason Huntley goes to the left. And you'll see why this is a huge problem, because instantly, Leighton Vander Esch, he only takes 1 step forward on this play action. Half a step forward. Then once he sees, he starts looking for the over route. So you have a double team on this post and almost a triple team on this over route. Where is Carson Wentz going to go with the football? The plays are designed to do things for a reason. If you're going to run the wrong way, the play is blown up. And then now you compound that with Carson Wentz trying to be a hero. All right, we ran the play wrong. Here we go, trying to be a hero.
And
sack turnover.
He's got to throw that away. And obviously the beginning part was a mess up on the running back, because Fulgham, I think, would have been open across the middle had that linebacker not picked him up. But at that point, once you kind of know the plays and it's only a 2-man route, and both those guys are getting double covered, you've got to throw it away. You escaped it early on sack. He's just trying to do too much, and it ends up being a turnover in their own territory.
It's the 2 biggest problems with Carson Wentz right now. He's hesitating on open concepts, giving up on open concepts, and when he gives up on them, he just tries to be a hero, and he ends up becoming his team's worst villain. This form of Carson Wentz that is trying to do way too much. He is not, and it's the same story every week with his post-game pressers. It's, I got to be better. I got to watch the tape. I got to take what the defense gives me. What, are you ever going to start actually practicing the words you preach? Or are you still going to do the same stupid shit over and over and over and lose your team football games?
I don't know if you saw a report. This is kind of a side topic. It's not. They don't know how verified this to be true, but it became a national story and talking point on like ESPN and Fox Sports about how there's been reports that the Eagles coaches aren't being hard enough on him in practice. And he's getting by with sloppy plays like that.
You
So I don't
can
know if
see
it
it.
comes from there.
You can see it.
Yeah.
He's doing the same. It's the same story every week. It's the same problems every week for this Eagles football team. And we're going to get into the second reason why the Eagles are sucking ass on offense, aside from Carson Wentz. And it's the blocking. And I hate to do Jason Peters, one of the best left tackles I've seen in my lifetime. The guy's been he's a Hall of Famer, right? He's really good. He played like ass against the Browns. He needed to be benched, and I'm pretty sure he eventually was benched. But my God, he had the worst game I've ever seen. Everyone's talking about the safety with Carson Wentz and how he's been, he needed to get rid of the ball. Well, here's the play before the safety. Just take a look at my man Jason Peters at the left tackle and what Olivier Vernon is able to do on this play. Olivier Vernon is able to beat him to the inside and make the play all the way across his face. This is supposed to be the left tackle that you can rely on, the blindside blocker, your stud offensive lineman, him and Lane Johnson. Coming into the season, this was the strength of your Eagles team was your tackles. And now, once again, this has become the biggest weakness for this Eagles football team. Their tackle play against the Browns was absolutely atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. This is a good front to run the ball against. Yeah, it's a 7-man box, but look at all the space inside.
I was going to say, if you go up the middle, there's a lot of room.
There's a ton of space inside. And, usually the running game has been really good for this Eagles team. They're averaging the same numbers they did last year running the football. But it's this blocking. And it's not even just the fact that guys like Jason Peters are appearing to be washed. It's the overall miscommunications on this offensive line and from Carson Wentz not picking up the blitz. They're going to be blitzing a safety over here. And Carson Wentz is going to see it. He's going to call it out. You see him pointing right there. He sees the safety. I'm pretty sure he's going to be telling Boston Scott to go to the left. They're going to be faking it to the right. But I'm pretty sure this is not like Huntley on the play a couple plays ago going the wrong direction. I mean, we're not in the meeting room, so we don't know for sure. But I am pretty sure they are telling Boston Scott to disregard the play fake. Let's block it up on the other side. We see the blitz coming. But the problem here is you're going to have this tackle here and this tackle here, and most of the offensive linemen sliding to the right. At 69, my man's 69. He's had some rough plays on tape for this Eagles football team. Does not slide. And you're going to see the giant hole it leaves in between this tackle and guard that DeMarcus Lawrence is going to take advantage of for basically a free sack. And it's just plays like this. You can blame Carson Wentz for holding on to the ball and for all the mistakes that he's made. But for as many plays as Carson Wentz fucks up, there's plays like this for the Eagles too. He's not the only guilty party.
I think this is where you really see the impact of, like what you said, 9 different line combinations through 10, 11 weeks. There's zero chemistry in terms of, I don't know if maybe 69 just thought it was the wrong play, but how that offensive line was supposed to slide just went terribly wrong.
It's just there's multiple guys on the wrong page. Multiple players. And, if you look at the All-22 again, the big problem with this is that they have the play they want. They have the look they want. You're going to see Fulgham at the top of the screen on this dig route. He's going to be wide open for a first down. He's going to be wide open with great leverage. right at the top of your screen. Free pass rusher, though. It all starts up front. Any offense, it starts up front. The Eagles cannot block up front. Here's the safety. And the safety is embarrassing if you're this Eagles offensive line. Olivier Vernon is going to make this play. Watch how many players block Olivier Vernon. Greg Ward is going to chip him, and then they're going to have him doubled. And he's able to make this sack. Are you kidding me?
Christ.
You can blame
Shame is
Carson
too-
Wentz, but he can't see it. This is supposed to be the blind side. You have a chip and double team on Olivier Vernon. Okay, maybe if it's Aaron Donald, that's one thing. This is Olivier Vernon. This isn't even Myles Garrett, their defensive player of the year candidate. This is Olivier Vernon beating a chip and double team, and you'll see the problem. You'll have Dallas Goedert in this seam wide open, and Carson Wentz is about to hit him.
I was about to say that's the big difference. Like that play goes from what should have been probably like a at least 30 on what Goddard does after the catch. But it goes from that, if just two people can hold off Olivier Vernon on the blind side, to now a safety where Wentz doesn't see it coming at all. Because if you look at the play, the right side where he's looking at is holding up okay for the most part. And I just don't think he expected that coming because he was expecting the double team would be able to handle Vernon, especially with the
This
chip.
Eagles-Browns game was like, and I took the Eagles as my dog of the week. I liked him this week, but my God,
I bet the Eagles too.
this is atrocious. This is just a coach's tape into how to not block. You'll see here, the Browns are going to have a little fire zone off the left. Just watch the right side of the offensive line. Now, this is also on Carson Wentz for not seeing this, for the record. This is on Carson Wentz for not shifting this offensive line to the left and seeing the blitz. But where is the effort at the same time? Where is the effort from Where is the effort from guys looking for work? Just standing around. 69, my man.
Dude,
Do you want to help your football team?
There's 4 guys not blocking right there.
You know, I can understand Carson Wentz may have missed this blitz off the left side and not shifted the offensive line. Maybe it's the coaches for not calling the right plays. But at the same time, where's the effort? Where is the will to win? Where, as a guard, if you have no one on you, look for some damn work. Look for someone to block. You have a whole side of offense. The only one who's doing is Jason Kelce. He's the only one that seems to want to win football games and block for Carson Wentz. And my man is playing hurt as well. Absolutely absurd. But go ahead. Blame Carson Wentz for all the Eagles' problems.
How's it saying? That's a 4-man rush against 6 blockers, where one guy comes free, pretty much just forcing Wentz into some kind of throw.
Yeah, and okay, go ahead. You can say all you want. Carson Wentz is a bad throw. Thrown it into coverage. Just think about it contextually as well. This is, you've had no offense the entire game. The entire season, everyone's been crapping on. You have a free rusher off the outside. You see one-on-one. Can you really blame him for making that throw? Are you really going to blame him that much?
I don't know what else.
Yeah, Carson Wentz has his fault. But Jesus Christ. They're not helping him out at all.
It's not a bad look. It's Fulgham one-on-one with the corner, with the other guy coming in late, but at that point, the ball's already there.
Yeah, you paid Carson Wentz a big contract, but you can help your quarterback out every once in a while. And now let's get into the other problem. It's on all phases. This is not just a quarterback problem. We started off with the quarterback problems, then we go up front. But what about the coaches? Look at this look here. You're a team that is averaging over 5 yards a carry. Look at this front. Look at it. This is so much space. This is a first down. The Eagles throw way too much on first down. They are one of the leading teams in throws on first down. Why are you throwing the ball on first down here? And not even why are you throwing the ball. You're really going to choose Travis Fulgham. your practice squad player up against all-pro level Denzel Ward. One-on-one. That's really the look you're going to go for? You've been struggling to move the football all game, and that's the look you're going to decide to go for? You're going to say, no, we're not running the ball. Let's test Fulgham one-on-one against one of the best man coverage corners in the game. It's been eating his lunch all day, might I add.
On just a back shoulder fade.
Like you said,
Which
Lounis,
makes it even worse.
I think this team needs an offensive coordinator. Because Doug Peterson, this ain't doing it. It's on all
Yeah,
phases.
no, I didn't understand that before the season. They fired the offensive coordinator from last year, which I don't think it was a bad idea. Their offense had a lot of shitty tendencies last year. But then everyone was expecting them to hire someone and bring someone in, possibly the Vikings offensive coordinator from last year, or quarterbacks coach Filippo. I forgot his name.
Yeah, like
And
DeFlippio.
then yeah, because he was on that staff when they in 2017 with Wentz's best season. So people were expecting him to come back. And Peterson was just like, I'm just going to do it myself, which I think kind of got set under the rug because people were hoping, because Peterson was a former offensive coordinator, that he'd be able to still call the plays well. But it's not working at all. It hasn't worked at all. There's been no one fixing Wentz's mechanics. The play calling is extremely suspect.
Yeah, take a look at this here. 3rd and 6. Right? 3rd and 6. And look at this abysmal play call. It's 3rd down and 6. You can see that they're coming with a rush. There's no safeties anywhere in sight. And guess what we're going to do? Now we're running around the ball.
A zone read with Wentz on 3rd and 6.
My goodness. It doesn't matter what quarterback you have back here. This is never going to work.
Yeah,
this is never winning you football games. And this is a team, might I add, that last week before this Browns game didn't convert a single 3rd down against the Giants. So you'd think that in the week leading up, they'd be working on some 3rd downs a little bit, at least in theory.
That's what they come up with, though.
Seriously? This is your play call?
It gets worse. I actually mixed this up with the play I was thinking about. There was this on 3rd and 6. There's a 3rd and 7 later this game where they not even read option. They just run a quarterback draw with Wentz up the middle. And that went about as you expected. It gained a solid 1.5 yards on 3rd and 7.
Your average 12-year-old Madden player can come up with a better play call than this.
Yeah.
Especially
And once again, it's on all phases. Now let's get to the receivers. Let's get to the receivers now, because we touched on Wentz, we touched on the quarterbacks, we touched on the offensive line. Now let's touch on the skill players. Lounis, you had that stat, right? The one of that problem with their short passing with their running backs.
Yeah. So one thing that Miles Sanders was actually, before he became the full-time starter, one reason he was getting on the field so much was because he was such a threat in the receiving game. He was having multiple great receiving game with the Eagles, and last year at Miles Sanders targets, they were completed at 70 times, which is a really high percentage. That number has completely plummeted this year to 48.5%. It has gone completely down to shit. I don't know what's happened because Miles Sanders has played better. Sorry, the first number was 79.36.
79.36%. Now you're under 50%. And here's why. The first problem you're going to see is it's going to take so long for these guys on the side to win their matchup. By the time that you're going to see Rager actually get open, pass rush is getting there. Not only that, you're going to see Miles Sanders. What the hell are you doing, Miles Sanders? Why did you just stop? You're going to see the overall disconnect between Carson Wentz and Miles Sanders. And this has been happening in checkdowns with the running backs. It's happening in the short passing game and screens. Just their playmakers also have a part in blame for this. Now let's get to the most embarrassing clip before we end this analysis. Alshon Jeffrey at the end of this football game.
This is brutal. I was telling people all offseason, Alshon's washed.
This is just a jump ball to Alshon Jeffrey. Excuse me? What is that?
This is brutal. And if after this, if you can even get, I think the other angle shows it well too.
What is that jump?
I saw, I was telling Frank earlier, I saw something online. Alshon jumped and landed before the ball got there. This is terrible.
Yeah,
This is just
Alshon probably
abysmal.
good as over. Jesus Christ.
You know, this is a you can blame
So
Wentz
early.
for this decision, but this is just your jump ball. Okay, my guy's bigger than yours. Let me just throw it up in the post.
Yeah,
You're right.
Alshon
He
lands before it
literally
gets there.
lands his jump before the ball gets there. It literally looks like he's a Fall Guys character.
And you'd think that play, it's either complete or it's batted out of the receiver's hands. Because Alshon it's an out route. He got inside leverage on him. He's a lot taller than Denzel Ward. He's like a big body receiver. And this was what Alshon was good at a couple years ago. Like this was his specialty, those kind of jump ball plays. And now that was, I don't know what that was, that pathetic excuse for like that kind of half jump way before the ball got there.
They have not been able to win on the outside on third downs, which is a huge reason why they cannot convert third downs consistently. Teams have been blitzing them a ton because of their offensive line problems. They've been blitzed 15% more from 2019 to 2020 and 17% more from 2018 to 2020. An area where in 2018 Carson Wentz had over a 100 passer rating against the blitz. You know, you can blame, you know, Carson Wentz all you want, but I don't care. You can say, "Oh, we should bench him for Jalen Hurts." Does Jalen Hurts really give you a better chance to win the football game after watching these clips, after watching the complete dysfunction of this Eagles offense?
I
Not
don't
if
think
your
there's any
O-line's playing
shot.
like that. Yeah, like no one's gonna playing good in that circumstance. The O-line's just missing blocks like that, and receivers are dropping balls, can't get open or anything like that. It's just really the whole offense is just a mess all around.
You know, I can if Jalen Hurts is able to go in there as a rookie and pretty much play lights out, mistake-free football completely. Okay, yeah, he can give you a better chance to win the football game. But you really want to put your rookie quarterback in that scenario? You really want to shove him in there?
It'd be
You know,
terrible.
Carson Wentz has his fair share of the blame for trying to do too much and for the consistent turnovers. I mean, he's leading the league in interceptions and fumbles. And I can see why you Eagles fans want to bench Carson Wentz. I can see it. Everyone can see it. But Carson Wentz is not the only one to blame for this dysfunction going on with the Eagles. It is on everyone, the offensive line, the receivers, the coaching staff, and the quarterback. So I'm tired of hearing, "Oh, well, if we benched Carson Wentz, all of our problems are solved. We'll easily be a better offense." All these experts saying that, you only have to watch one game back to see that these problems extend way further than the quarterback position.
1,000%. And I think even with Hurts, one, I think he'd be significantly worse. Two, it's the thing with him. First off, you knew he was a project coming out of college. You knew he'd be to be successful in the NFL. I think it's going to take a couple years of coaching, and getting used to NFL defenses and reading them. And then third, I think he needs a good O line to be able to succeed because I don't see how he could possibly do well, especially on a lot of like QB runs and stuff, with how bad that O line is played. With it's just a constant musical chairs thing. Like people are switching positions all the time. I don't see that could be any better. And I think what's going to ultimately end up happening with the Eagles is this season's kind of a wash. I don't even think they somehow might win the division. I have no idea how. Like I don't see them winning either of the next 4 games. Um, but I just think they're going to bring in a new offensive coordinator next year. He's going to change up pretty much that entire offense, try to fix Wentz's mechanics. At least that's what I think they should do. But we're going to see. I don't think, though, benching Wentz right now is the answer.
Yeah, just
No,
really.
I agree.
You can go on, Steed.
Yeah, I agree. You were right. Like Wentz has some fault in there, but like it's just clearly like the offense needs a change to it. And if you brought in a new OC, did a couple things, like make Wentz comfortable because you can see on like almost every play, Wentz just looks so out of sorts because he doesn't have trust there. He doesn't have trust in his receivers and doesn't have trust in his own line. So I think if you gave him a little new system, at the end of the day, you paid $128 million for this guy. He's a top 10 paid quarterback. He's drafted number 2 overall. He has played exceptionally well in previous years. Just because he's had one horrible year and not all his fault, I don't see why in the world why you would bench him.
Yeah, and even, people are calling for the Eagles to start looking for a new quarterback in the offseason.
Listen,
I think that Wentz has shown that he can play.
I think like a lot of people like, experts and maybe fans or whatever, it's gone back to like the Super Bowl run. I think like when Nick Foles won it, and like even then Wentz was getting trashed. Well, Nick Foles can do it. We don't really need Wentz, even though Wentz won 11 games that year and was going to be the Super Bowl. It was going to be the MVP and was going to win the Super Bowl. And I feel like since then it's just always been kind of, and he's only played in like barely a quarter of a playoff game. He's always had these injuries, and the crap talks has always been there. There's been the hate on Wentz. So I think that's why you also see like a lot of this stuff on why like people want Wentz out.
Yeah, I got a whole long list of problems with this Eagles offense. Only a handful of them have to do with the quarterback. And at the end of the day, if you're an Eagles fan and you're looking to give up on Carson Wentz or even give up on Jay, say, oh, in the offseason, we need a completely new start. It starts up front. You need better offensive line play, which a lot of that has been due to injuries. I will understand that. You need some guys that consistently win on the outside. And like Lounis said, you need a damn offensive coordinator because clearly the game plan's not working. The amount of times I've seen this Eagles team give up on the running game in the second half, throw the ball on first down, keep Carson Wentz inside of the pocket instead of trying to have some plays where you're getting him outside the pocket or even taking advantage of his athleticism a little bit. It's just absolutely absurd. But let's move on into the 3rd and 20 power rankings. First time we're doing this. Me and Steed, we're coming out. We're going to have our 3rd and 20 power rankings. Lounis, you can comment on them, who you think is too high and who you think is too low. I'm going to start off. All right, you ready for this, Steed?
Yeah.
Or do you want to just go like, 1, 1, 2, 2? You want to do it like that?
Yeah, we can do it like that. Let's do that.
All right, number 1. Pittsburgh Steelers, baby.
I figured that. I still got the Chiefs at 1.
All right, well, surprise, surprise. I wonder who you have at number 2 because I have Kansas City, and I.
Yeah, I got the Bucks. No, I'm just playing. I got the Steelers at 2.
I can also imagine who you have at number 3. I have the New Orleans Saints at number 3.
Yeah, I got the Aints at 3.
Now, here's where it gets a little interesting. And I mean, the first 3.
This is like tough.
The first 3, there really is no explanation needed for them. I think generally everyone has the consensus top 3. Number 4, I have the Seattle Seahawks, which may come as a surprise to some people given how bad their defense has been. But after that Cardinals game, I think that this defense is figuring some things out. And the fact of the matter is the Seahawks have either the number 1 or number 2 quarterback. You can argue Patrick Mahomes, you can argue Russell Wilson, but with Russell Wilson as your quarterback, they have the talent to beat any football team in the NFL on any given day. and in the playoffs. It doesn't matter who they're playing. With Russell Wilson as your quarterback and with guys like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, they'll be in any football game. And if the Seahawks are able to get guys like Chris Carson back and healthy heading into the playoffs and a defense that is not historically bad against the pass, this is a scary team. And I think that they will be easily one of the most feared teams coming into the playoffs on the NFC side.
Plus, like, Dunlap has been a huge trade for them, too. He's been going on since he's been there. At 4, like, I think this might shock some people, but I got the Rams at 4. The Rams control their destiny in the NFC West. They've won huge games week in, week out, and we saw Jared Goff last night play extremely well, hitting Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, and their defense is still elite. And also, the Rams, the road to the Super Bowl is just them leading in halftime. Under McVay, if they have a lead at halftime, they are 32-0.
All right, well, for me at number 5, I have my Super Bowl winner at the beginning of the season. I have the Indianapolis Colts. We've seen Phillip Rivers. It doesn't matter what the receivers are. He's finally getting into that groove. We've seen this running back by committee really work for them instead of trying to lean on Jonathan Taylor. And that defense, I don't really think I need to say much. They are a top-tier group. That linebacking core is scary against the run and against the pass. And that rookie they have, Blackman or Blankenship or whatever, something like that. Not the kicker.
There you go. Hot Rod?
No, not him. 32. I forget the kid's name, the safety. He is a stud, an absolute stud. The kid is legit. I think that he should be in the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year, even over someone like Chase Young or Patrick Queen.
I got the Colts at 5. I almost put them at 4, but yeah, for the same reason for you. Phillip Rivers does look like he's getting into a groove. You saw Jonathan Taylor have probably his best game in the NFL last week against the Packers. I know it's the Packers' run defense and they're a little questionable, but yeah, they can beat you in so many different ways. And I like this team going forward, especially with how their defense looks and plays.
So for me at number 6, I have the Rams for the reasons that you said and had them at 4. Plus, I think that Sean McVay has really taken his coaching back to that Super Bowl level that we saw. You know, I watched a couple Rams games early in the season, and even against the Bucs yesterday, he just looks like he's a step ahead of these defensive coaches and defensive coordinators that he's coaching against. I think that season last year has really opened his eyes that he can't just have his system and rely on his system to beat guys. He needs to out-coach guys and know what the other team is doing and game plan around that. But, man, he is really in his groove. Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp look really nice. Those running backs that they've invested in, while they weren't necessarily on display against the Buccaneers, they have been on display in a couple of games. And it looks like Jared Goff is really getting into a rhythm now, and they're able to protect him better than they had last year. So I think the Rams are a scary team. I don't have them as high as you, but I have them at number 6.
Yeah, number 6, I got the Bills. I like the Bills here. They're still a scary team to me. Of course, like, they're in the top 10. The problem with the Bills with me is they got to figure out their running game. I think it's been very inconsistent, and they've been leaning on the shoulder of Josh Allen's passing game and his play all year. If they can figure out how to sustain a good running game and get their defense back to that elite level like it was last year and years previous, then I really like this team moving forward. So I got the Bills at 6 here.
I'm going to have the Bills at 7. I agree with you. Their running attack is a bit of a problem. Zach Moss has looked all right, but it's tough to rely on a rookie when you're trying to be a Super Bowl team. And you're right. The other thing is that secondary isn't as elite as it was last year. They need to figure out some things, especially up front, because against the run and in their pass rush, it has been nowhere near as good. It does seem like the Bills are starting to figure out some things on the defensive side of the football, but I'm going to have them at 7 mainly because Josh Allen in that passing attack. It can throw him at it any game. And Sean McDermott, Brian Dable, and the rest of that Bills staff really seems like they're a top-tier group in the NFL. So coming into big games, I really think the Bills are a team that can show up in those big games, big playoff games, playoff potential games, any games of that nature. I really trust that staff.
Number 7, I got the Seahawks. Yeah, last week was a very good showing from the defense, something to build on, hopefully. But I can't put them as high as 7 yet because, like, I need to see more of it, you know? Like, was this just, like, one game they, like, figured out because they just played the Cardinals 2 weeks ago and maybe they had, like, a little word out, or are they finally figuring stuff out? Maybe. But I need to see a little more, but I mean, as long as you have Russell Wilson, at the end of the day, you're going to win a lot of ball games.
I'm surprised. I thought you would have had the Seahawks a little bit higher. I know you're a
I
big
mean, I was
Seahawks
looking
guy
at
usually.
it. I would. It's just that their defense has been horrendous for the last like month and a half, and if they have like just a couple more good showings in there, like I think I would have had the Seahawks higher. But nah, I like the Seahawks at 7.
I don't know, Lounis, what do
Trying
you
to make
think?
it
You think the
spicy.
Seahawks are a top 5 team?
So I'm kind of leading Steed here. I probably have them 6 or 7 because ultimately, when the playoffs come, it's hard for me to bet against the team with the with the better quarterback. Like at the end of the day, it's tough to like bet against Russell Wilson unless he's playing like an A. Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes. But it's just their secondary. That's the part that worries me, and their pass rush. Obviously, you guys touched on Carlos Dunlap. I just need to see another week of it, like Steve said. Like they played great against Arizona, and I trust their offense if healthy, if they can get Carson back healthy, and I expect Russell Wilson. He's the second best quarterback in the NFL after Mahomes. It's just I don't know if I can put them in the top 5 yet. I probably would have them at like 6 or 7.
All right, well, at number 8, this one shocked even me because I did not think I would have these guys at 8. But after that win against the Ravens last week and what they were able to do last season, I can't put them outside of the top 8. It's the Tennessee Titans. You know, they've had their problems on defense. They've had their problems on offense. But my God, they are able to win big football games. They're able to show up for any game. Derrick Henry and their running attack just seems to get better as the season wears on and once the weather gets cold. This is a team that I just really like their physicality. I think that they can just show up. I really like their coaching staff with Vrabel. And that Ravens win was a statement win. They beat them last year in the playoffs, and they were able to beat them again. I really like the Titans, and I think that they're going to be a scary team heading into the playoffs.
This next team I put here just because I guess it's more of just a general consensus. I still don't truly believe in this team. I think they're a first round exit, really, depending on who, like how they get seeded in the NFC. But I got the Packers at 8.
Wow.
Dude, you see the Packers? You see the Packers last week in the first half against the Colts scheme. Like the first scheme is just working. They're hitting on all cylinders, up 28-14 going in the second half, and then it just kind of like the defense. You see how like the defense is very fraud, and they're not able to get anything going else on offense until like literally like the last 10 seconds where they kick that field goal. I had a chance to win the game, honestly. I had a guy open in the back of the end zone. I guess Rodgers just rather hit Devontae Adams. Matt Ryan wouldn't. But it's just I'm going to put the Packers here. They're still a top 3 team in the NFC.
Wow, the guy who's been calling them frauds all season, when it comes to ranking them in his power rankings, has them higher than I do.
The team that I think are more frauds than them, I don't even have in my top 10. And they beat this team. And they beat the Packers.
I'm gonna assume you have the Bucks there, which is my number 9 team, is the Bucks. I have them over the Packers. You know, the Bucks are a weird team. Obviously, they've had their struggles. They had a rough loss against the Rams just now, which I think that it looked a little bit worse than the score line said it was with those ugly interceptions going deep from Brady. But at the end of the day, this is a Bucs team that if they get hot and in a groove, this is a scary football team. I do think that up front they need to be better. They need to be better on the offensive line, giving Brady a little bit more time, making him a little bit more comfortable, and and developing more of a consistent running game, which they weren't able to have against the Rams. And it's just this team has too much talent to not have him in the top 10 and not have him at 9.
No, I know. Well, we're a Raiders podcast, so I'm putting the Raiders there. You know, they beat Chiefs first time around. Should have beat the Chiefs last time around. You know, you just whenever you give Patrick Mahomes a chance to win, you're going to lose. But a lot of people were telling that the Raiders were going to get blown out this game. Like it's just not going to be anything of a game. But the Raiders stuck in. They played it very well. Their offensive league. You saw Derek Carr literally play one of the best games of his career on Sunday night. I still really like this team going forward. And also, I have to be a little biased because it is a Raiders podcast. And let's just say, I think I'm more the true Raiders fan since do you have them in your top 10? I'm guessing this number 10
I
is
have
not
them
there.
one spot out of the top 10. I have the Packers
Wow.
at 10. You know, this is really close between the Raiders, the Packers, and the Cardinals and the Ravens for me. These are all teams that I do like and I do think have a legitimate shot in the playoffs. You know, the Raiders, I just think that their pass defense is too big of an issue. I think it's more of a glaring issue than, you know, the Packers defense is or, you know, the Ravens offense is to the Ravens. I do think that the Raiders, while they've been having a really good season, and Derek Carr is looking like prime Derek Carr, he's really getting a grasp of the offense. Like we kind of said in the beginning of the season, while the Raiders are going to shock some people, I still think that they're almost 1 year away. They need a little bit more talent on their pass defense. Their pass rush is a little bit inconsistent, even though they have some good guys up front. You know, Max Crosby's been really good. Arden Key's been really stepping up for this Raiders defense. Clelin Ferrell is developing, but it's just I wanted to put him in the top 10 really badly. I just can't put him above the Packers. The Packers have shown me too much good.
At number 10, I flip-flop with this a bunch, but I guess I just got to put it because like I can't leave Brady out of the top 10. I'm putting the Bucs at 10. I still think this is a very fraudulent team.
I thought you said you had him out of
know.
the top 10 just earlier.
Yeah, I had them in the top 10, and I had the Titans here at 10, and then I got to thinking, I was like, well, I can't leave Brady out of the top 10. Like, they're still a decent team. They're good. I just think they're a first-round exit if they make the playoffs. If they keep on playing like they are, they might not. But
they are a weird team.
I'm gonna put the Bucs here.
The Bucs, they've been beating up on
so
bad
many
teams.
mouths to feed. I don't like know really what's going on with them. Truly, it's like I feel like there's something like with the offense, like something's not meshing together with like Bruce Arians and like the players, like the play calling or something. It just doesn't. It just feels so stiff. It doesn't feel natural, you know, like what we're used to seeing from a Tom Brady offense. Or what we see from the Saints. I mean, apparently Taysom Hill can go in there and throw up like 300 total yards.
You know what's an interesting thing I found with Tampa Bay?
What's that?
What is it? Well, the first comment I was going to make, which is weird with the Bucs, I kind of almost trust their defense more than their offense in any given week. And the second point I was going to make, I didn't know this. Assuming Brady keeps his statistical pace for the rest of the season, Bruce Arians might not be the quarterback guru everyone thinks he is. It'll be the fourth straight quarterback he's had who will have their career high in interceptions under him. Andrew Luck had 18, which is his career high, his last year with Arians. Carson Palmer had his career high. Jameis had 30, and this would be Brady's career high as he's on pace, I think, for 14 or 15.
Jameis had about.
Well, this is just an offense that really likes to push the ball down the field. So
Brady can't throw
And
deep for shit right now.
the other thing with Arians is that I just think that this Bucks team needs to try to establish the run a little bit better and a little bit more creatively. Their whole running game has always been really weird to me. I think that their stats have been a little bit inflated from these really long runs from Ronald Jones. But I agree with what Steed was saying. It seems like there's a little bit of a disconnect, a little bit of a, whatever it is. It just doesn't seem like a good flowing, everyone's really on the same page and having a good relationship. I think that it looked a lot better in the offseason than it is now and in practice and during the games. And yeah, I mean, you've seen it. Bruce Arians has been really tough on Brady. Just the other day he said, "Oh, well, we hit the deep balls in practice." There's just something seems a little bit off.
He's been really critical of Brady this year, like in a few press conferences,
I mean, he is
which has kind
supposed
of
to
been
be the
surprising.
GOAT.
I mean,
It's not
I'm just
like
yeah, I guess it's just more like surprising that he's saying it like publicly. Like he shit on Brady a couple times,
I think he's trying to fire him up.
maybe. I was gonna say
I
one thing
think you
that
need
kind
to.
of go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I don't think you need to talk crap to Brady to fire him up. I think he gets pretty fired up on every given Sunday by himself by kissing his kid.
Pretty much, that's like a secret weapon. I was gonna say one thing I was surprised about, which I didn't know, I guess was kind of ongoing with you guys. I'm surprised both of you are so low on Green Bay. I'm way higher on Green Bay than either of you.
It's the same story.
I
Listen, I
was
got to give Steed credit where credit is due. It's the same damn story with Green Bay every year. They look unbeatable in like some halves and even some games, and then they have these lulls where they're not able to do anything and they're able to get shut down by good defenses. And whether it's their defense getting exposed or their offense getting exposed, I rarely feel nowadays as if the Packers are a team that ever really puts it together every game. With Aaron Rodgers, and I think part of that is because they are carried by Aaron Rodgers a little bit. We saw it, this year they did nothing to really add any receiving talent or really any offensive talent around him. The
First two
defense, it
draft picks
looks a
have been
lot
stellar.
better. What's up?
Their first two draft picks have been stellar, dude.
Yeah.
Jordan Love and AJ Dillon are showing out.
playing ton of
And
snaps.
I agree with you. We are low on the Packers, but it just feels like it's another one of those years where this team is going to let Aaron Rodgers down. That's what I'm feeling. I think they have a chance to get far in the playoffs, and they can even make it to the Super Bowl this year now that there's no 49ers defense that's going to be in their way. But I got to see it to believe it with this team right now.
No, though. They'll easily win 11, even 12 games. Just looking at like the rest of their schedule, and that's just the kind of team they are. They will win games. It's just they're going to come down. I know Drew Brees is like I don't really know like the time frame on him. Like, is this Taysom Hill thing all going to work out? If Aaron Rodgers, if Packers had to play against the Saints in the playoffs, I think the Saints dismantle them. Like, just blow them out. Defense would take the offense out of the question, and then it'd just be game over. And I think the Bucks could beat them in the playoffs still. It's just they're just like you look at them, you're like, okay, that's a good team, but I'm just not sold on them. And I just think they're just like one of those fraud teams that every year it's just 10 plus wins, but when push comes to shove, they're not going to do anything.
The Packers did beat the Saints in the regular season. I'm just stating that.
I mean, but like,
I'm just giving you
was
shit.
like,
The Saints
first
defense
3
looks a lot
weeks?
better now.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints defense just had 8 sacks and like Matt Ryan's worst game of his career. I'm just saying, like, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is probably better than Matt Ryan, but like, that was like the first 3 weeks. We're in full-fledged playoff mode now.
All right, but I want to talk about something that I found very interesting. And that's the whole Tua benching scenario against the Broncos. We had a segment on the last podcast where I said we need to start talking as if Tua is one of this on the same level as Justin Herbert and as Joe Burrow. And to be completely honest, I still regard him in that light. I think that Tua is really a phenomenal quarterback. And I thought the benching of Tua was really harsh. I think that when you named Tua the starter for that Dolphins football team, that was saying to him, we're going to ride with you through the thick and through the thin. He wasn't having a good game. He was under pressure. He was missing some throws, but God damn, I think that when you put Ryan Fitzpatrick in there, you kind of put Ryan Fitzpatrick in a situation that he is known to struggle in. A guy that when you have to throw the football, he has struggled a little bit. He struggled with turnovers. When he was starting for the Dolphins, he was up there in the league in interceptions. And surprise, surprise, at the end of the game, he threw a pick to Justin Simmons on the game-tying drive. I truly think that they should have left Tua in the game. And I'm not sure if I'm alone in my opinion. I wanted to hear what you guys thought, but I still think that even with Tua struggling, he gave you the best chance to win that football game by keeping him in there.
Yeah, I definitely agree they should have kept him in there. I kind of hated that call. Probably like the one bad move to me that Brian Flores has made. And it's just not solely because of confidence, but like he's a rookie quarterback. Sometimes these games are going to happen, and especially him doing so well in these first couple games he's been playing in, but like just growth, like you got to learn, like you got to have your young quarterback like sit there for a whole game and take a loss and know how that feels. Like if you didn't play well, that falls on your burden, or even like have him in that fourth quarter, give him a shot to be like, okay, you didn't play well in this first part of the game. See if you can come back and win this game and be the guy. I think you just totally took that whole kind of fantasy out from him when you said benched him. At first, I thought he got hurt because like he was like I saw like a play where it like looked like he rolled over his ankle. I think the announcer said something about it too, but I just think that was a bad move. I always think about it like when Lamar Jackson plays in his first playoff game against the Chargers, and it's just getting that game's just out of control. Like I think he completed like maybe 20% of his passes. Everybody calling in Joe Flacco, but they kept Lamar in there, And I think that was the right decision because that's your guy of the future. There's no point of bringing in this old head to try to win this football game when you got your guy, you got your franchise guy. Let him go out there and compete. If he loses, he loses. You got 6 more games left. Let him learn from it.
What did you think, Lounis?
I couldn't agree more with what Steed said. I think one for confidence, but two, that's a learning experience for a young quarterback. The first couple of games he's played has been pretty convenient for him. Like the Rams game, he didn't really have to do anything because the defense and special teams for the Dolphins was just dominating. The Cardinals game was a bit more, but still, like he started off the game with a 7-0 lead because of the defensive touchdown, and he was able to play with like a bit of a lead for most of that and be comfortable. Like this is the very first time he's in like cold weather, which he's barely had, like against a good defense. Like see how he does when like stuff isn't going well for most of the game. Like can you pull it together and deliver like some good fourth quarter drives? I just think like I understand maybe like he's like desperately trying to get into the playoffs, so he's like, oh, throwing Fitzpatrick. But I just think for Tua's long-term potential and success, I think seeing how he would have done while like handling that adversity, like playing from behind where stuff hasn't been going well, could have been a good learning experience for him. And then the second thing I wanted to say quick to Frank's comment, I still believe in Tua's talent, but I don't know how you can have him in the same tier as Herbert right now.
I'll
been
tell you
insane.
why. Okay, maybe not Herbert, because you're right. Herbert has been absolutely ridiculous. And I understand that is a little bit of a hot take, saying that he should be looked at in the same light right now as Herbert and Joe Burrow. But this is my thing, and this is the number one reason why I would have kept Tua Tagovailoa in that football game, is that Tua isn't going to make the flashy passes like Herbert and Burrow do all the time. Yeah, he's going to do some great things, but he's not going to wow you on these crazy bullet throws and all lighten up the stat sheet all the time. But there is one reason that Tua was selected over Herbert and why I still regard him as a great quarterback. And that's because he's a winner and he's smart. You know, I think that you keep him in that football game, you really give him the chance that he needed. Yeah, in a lot of the game he was missing throws, he was under pressure, but Mike, he's a winner. He is a winner. He's the kind of quarterback as a rookie that I trust with the football in his hands when we're not playing well and he's not playing well. Listen, every quarterback is going to have rough games. It happens, especially against a well-coached group under Vic Fangio. But I think you really needed to keep him in the game. And the other thing is that I think that Brian Flores, this is the first time that he has let his inexperience show as a head coach. I think that the moment got to him a little bit. The fact that the Dolphins are a better team than a lot of people thought they were, their defense, while it played well, I think that a lot of people really expected Drew Lock and the Broncos offense to have multiple turnovers that game and to expect the Dolphins defense to continue their special teams dominance and scoring on defense. And that wasn't able to happen as a lot of people didn't think. And the Broncos were able to really establish the run game, which kind of showed a weakness in the Dolphins that, yeah, their pass defense is really good, but how's your run defense? And Brian Flores really, I think his inexperience showed that game, and the fact that they weren't really able to adjust and that he kind of fell into the trap of putting Fitzmagic in there. I don't blame him completely for putting Fitzmagic in there. I don't think that that's the reason that they lost the football game. But if you were going to do that, why make Tua the starting quarterback? If you don't have your utmost trust and confidence in that guy, why'd you make him the starting quarterback in the first place? Just keep Fitzmagic in there.
That's a fair point. Like at that point, you just kind of have to stick with him. Like I said, I didn't agree with the call. Like I guess I can kind of see the motive behind it because he's trying to like desperately get them into the playoffs and thought maybe Fitzpatrick could give a spark. But I think when you have a young quarterback, like you've got to go through the learning curves. Like there's always going to be them for every single young quarterback, and him experiencing that and getting through it, I think, is part of it. Like Tua's not going to have every game of his career where the defense gives him a lead or like makes it comfortable for him. Like he's going to have to play from behind a lot. That's a tough division. So I don't know. I'm with you guys. I don't think it was the right move.
Yeah, I just
Also,
hate.
I like how. Go ahead.
I just hate real quick that I felt like you took out Tua right when it was prime Tua time, right in the situation where okay, his back is against the wall a little bit. Let's go out there and make some throws under pressure. I think that that's where the difference between Tua and Fitzpatrick is that Fitzpatrick, while he's good and has made some game-winning drives and has the experience and all that jazz, I just think that at the end of the day, that's why you took Tua at 5 was for that exact scenario. And you're going to take him out of the game once he finally reaches that point, even though he hasn't been playing well and missed some throws. The guy has better arm talent, and I just think, mentally is a really strong rookie and is a guy that, that's what he prided himself on at Alabama was I'm not going to go out there and lose a football game without swinging and without making some plays. So I just kind of felt like Brian Flores took him out right when he was about to start lighting it up and making some plays.
And plus, like he didn't really have to come back that much for Bama because they were always up like 20 points with their 30,000 first-round picks. But yeah, that's a good point. Like, I mean, you've seen Tua come into flashes his freshman year at Bama, come off the bench and beat Georgia, a fake team. But yeah, dude, like how many games has Tua really lost in his career? I like dating back to high school. It's probably like 2 or 3. So I just leave the guy in there that's won. Like Fitzpatrick's lost more than he's won. Like leave him there for like maybe like coaching and experience. But dude, get it's time for the young buck. You invested so much into him. Give him the opportunity to win this game. Even if you don't win the game, he's going to. If he's your future quarterback, there's going to be games where he doesn't play well, and you're telling that he has to lead back. And if you never give him that chance in the early stages, he'll never get used to it.
Or bench him when he's really screwed up and that Dolphins team, the chances of them winning at the time are really low, and it's because of Tua. They were still really in that football game, even though the offense hadn't been producing. They were a few plays away from tying that football game up and really being in there. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why you benched him. I just think that it really showed Brian Flores' inexperience. Let's get into. We got an interesting week here because it's the Thanksgiving week. So I wanted to do something a little special. You can't back out. You got to give a pick. We're going to be picking every Thursday night game.
Okay.
We're going to start off with the Texans against the Lions. We're going to do it in order. We're going to do everything by the book. All right. And this Texans-Lions game, man, this is a game of the shitters. These are two teams that have not been able to really win except against bad teams. The Texans, they beat the Jaguars twice. They did have an impressive win against the Patriots, but it's the Patriots this year. You really don't know what you're getting out of them. And on the contrary, you have the Lions, who just put up a goose egg, a big zilch against the Panthers defense, who I've been saying is underrated on this podcast, by the way. That is an underrated group under Matt Rule, and good for them for holding this Lions team to nothing. I've been back and forth in this game a little bit. The Lions, especially against the Panthers, had a ton of injuries. Matt Stafford was practically playing without his throwing hand thumb. I don't. You guys see that little thing he had on his thumb? I don't even know. It literally looked like they just taped his thumb to his palm a little bit. I don't know what the hell that did, but supposedly he hadn't taken a snap under center or taken a snap in general all practice the entire week. So, seeing at what the Lions did offensively, maybe they should have been looking to sit their quarterback. I don't know. But man, a goose egg just adding to this resume of my boy Matt Patricia. So I hate this because I really hate this game, and I've been saying to everyone, fade the Texans, but I'm taking the Texans. I really do think this is the bait. We don't really know the injury reports at this point in time. If Galladay and all those guys are playing, I'm pretty sure they're going to be getting DeAndre Swift back and everything, which is going to be a problem because this is a Texans defense that sucks at stopping the run. But since we have to take a pick, I'm going to be taking the Texans at -3. But I think the real pick here is the Duke Johnson Jr. under on rushing yards of 56.5. I think that is the real pick in this game.
Bless you.
Duke Johnson. Should I do should we just continue our experiment where we just take opposite picks and see if I keep winning?
Dude, this is Thursday, and I mean the Lions are. You know what? I'm not taking the Texans. I've been back and forth. I'm back on the Lions.
I was going to take the Lions.
Yeah, you take the Texans because guess what? This is a Thursday night game.
No,
I'm
I don't
sticking with the dog on Thursday. The dog on Thursday never lies. It's like the map in Harry Potter. The map never lies. The dog never lies. Let's go Lions, baby. Matt Patricia, I love you, man. Even though I said you should be fired 2 episodes ago, and I still think you should be, you got this. The Lions, they've lost every Thanksgiving game I've seen in recent memory, and it hasn't been close. But this week, DeAndre Swift, who I thought was a bust, is going to show that he is a stud running back. And Matt Patricia is going to show that this Lions team can still make the playoffs. Let's go Lions.
The Texans.
I think this is going to be a Texans double-digit victory. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I support
you
I
and
support
one army.
I mean, that's fair. But so what it looks like right now is it looks like Swift has a pretty decent shot at playing, and it looks like Galladay won't. From what I'm picking up, Galladay didn't practice today or yesterday. Swift was limited today, so I'm gonna guess Swift ends up playing. Galladay doesn't. We just saw what this Lions offense looked like last week against Carolina, to the PJ Walker-led Carolina. Shout out Temple. Where they just got beat 20-0. Against a not very good team with their backed up.
24-0, wasn't it?
It might have been, but
you put some respect on the Panthers' name.
Yeah, it was 20-0. It was. I was worried I didn't give them enough credit. It could have been worse because PJ Walker threw 2 red zone picks, but I just don't see it. If they had Kenny Galladay fully healthy, also, I would like the Lions' chances a lot more. But man, they have not looked like they haven't looked great recently. Okuda hasn't looked as good as I think people have anticipated. I don't know if you've been watching him or studying him as much, but I don't think he's been as good as people would have expected. Um, Texans are coming up. I don't see Detroit winning this.
I was called a madman for saying that I would take C.J. Henderson over Okuda.
I agreed with you.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I don't know if I
I-
agree with you. I said it was really close. I don't know if I went that far.
It's almost like we've
Alright.
seen the same story again and again with cornerbacks that are coming out of the draft, supposed man coverage studs. You know, there's no surefire draft method. I've just seen the tail a couple of times with those really physical man coverage corners that everyone thinks are just gonna. What are you thinking, Steve? You got to give your pick. So, are you switching it to the Texans, or are you sticking with me on the Lions here?
I'm sticking on the Lions because of the consensus, but also I'm reading like the score chat right now, and this is from a diehard Lions fan. His name's Pohara37651. Listen, Lions are gonna win. I'm from Detroit. They win these kind of games for no reason. You sold me there, dude. Lions plus 3.
This is just a crapshoot
Don't
game, to
overthink
be
it.
completely honest. These are two teams
I'm pumped for it.
that the Texans defense, they look good against the Patriots offense. If you can look good against the Patriots offense, like they have Deshaun Watson, which is like
out like this.
the reasoning I've heard every week for people picking the Texans is, hey, they suck everywhere, but they have Deshaun Watson and some decent receivers. Like that's the argument for the Texans every week, and it worked last week. I mean, we both picked the Pats, but fade the Texans. You heard it here first. Fade the Texans. Fade the favorite on Thursday, unless it's my next pick, which we're going into Washington versus Dallas. I think I'm taking the bait here, but I'm going to go with Dallas at -3. I hate it. Every time you ever start getting high on Dallas this season, they let you down. Mike McCarthy shows you know what? This is a bad football team. But they look good against the Vikings. They look good against the Vikings team that I really like and that was hot. And Andy Dalton, I think he did just enough to make me start believing in him again. And even though Washington has a stud defense where they've been slyly the number 1 passing defense, let's go Cowboys. This is a Cowboys dub, and they have it's written all over it. As the season goes on, the Cowboys have been getting nothing but better. And they're going to go and show the Washington football team that they still suck and that they deserve to be picking top 5 in the draft.
Both of them deserve.
The Cowboys have been getting healthier. It's just crazy to think that both of these teams are 3-7. And this is like a huge game for the division. Just really think about that. Like, I'm going to turn on this game like during Thanksgiving, and my dad and granddad are going to be like, "Why are you watching this? Both of these teams suck. They're 3-7." I'm like, "They're fighting for the division right now." Like, but
the winner of that game is going to be in first place.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take the Cowboys. I have liked what I've seen from the Cowboys in previous weeks. I'm not sold solely on the Redskins offense. They look very slow, especially against the Bengals. And they lose. All right, they lose to the Bengals if Joe Burrow doesn't snap his knee in half. So I'll ride you on the Cowboys. Just saying,
dude, I really wanted you to pick the football team there. Someone's got to pick the football team. I was thinking about it. This is another game that I think it's honestly a crapshoot because the football team kicked the crap out of the Cowboys earlier in the season.
I'm actually
these first 2 games I don't want to pick.
I'm actually extremely happy that both of you picked the Cowboys because now it makes me feel less bad for picking the Redskins. being the outlier here.
Hey, the football team.
Oh my God, the
Football
football
team.
team. I'm so sorry. So I think one big reason we saw the Cowboys play so well last week wasn't necessarily like the passing attack. Even though Andy Dalton did have 3 touchdowns, a lot of those were in the red zone, and CD Lamb being like absolutely insane with that like just turnaround catch. I thought a big part of it was the running game was doing really well. Zeke had 21 carries for 103 yards. Pollard had 5 for 60 and a touchdown. I think the Redskins can kind of like keep that under control for the most part and force Andy Dalton to beat them with his arm and decision making. Which I mean, the Cowboys, you could argue they might have. Well, I won't say the best. They probably have like a top 5 receiving core, top 3. So they have got the receivers to do it. I just think we saw what happened the last time these two teams played in Washington with Andy Dalton being healthy for most of that first half, and Dallas has been starting to play better. But I think this would be such a Dallas move. Like they're starting to pick up momentum. They've been playing better. They just beat Minnesota. Andy Dalton's back. Everyone's like, oh, they might win the division. They have the easiest schedule. And then just boom, lose at home to the Redskins on Thanksgiving, to Alex Smith. I keep on saying to the Washington football team on Thanksgiving, to Alex Smith, and the rest of that crew, Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin. So I'm picking the Reds. I'm picking the Washington football team. I have a really bad problem.
Yeah, but you see this, Lounis? This is what you get out of Mike McCarthy that you don't get out of Riverboat Ron Rivera. Headline on the screen: Mike McCarthy smashed watermelons with sledgehammer to fire up Cowboys. I don't know if I'm a pro football player, if that would legitimately fire me up. But you know what? As a fan, I'm fired up. Oh, dude, I might go smash some watermelons with sledgehammers myself because this Cowboys team is covering -3 on Thanksgiving. They're going to be smashing watermelons the entire game, and those watermelons are going to be the Washington football team. Ezekiel Elliott, 2 touchdowns, guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
I like it, dude. Mike McCarthy, coach of the year.
This is coach of the year stuff, Lounis. All right, this is coach of the year material. It doesn't matter what your record is. Just picture Mike McCarthy with that giant gut of his, just smashing some watermelons.
Oh my God,
that's something I would get behind.
I would have loved to be in that like coach's office in terms of they're just thinking it's like, oh man, we're on a bad losing streak. How can we like bring our team back to life? McCarthy's like, I got just the idea.
Some watermelons in the trunk of my car.
Give me some watermelons and a hammer.
And then whoever their D's, Kellen Moore's like, hey man, I got a sledgehammer in my truck. All right, perfect. Rally up the troops.
Hey, call the piss boy to get some watermelons. Get all the guys in the meeting room.
But yeah, I just want to clarify. I'm not even just taking the Redskins +3. I'm taking the Redskins outright.
Oh, I mean, yeah, right. I think it's a good pick. Like, to be honest, I was really close to taking the Washington football team. It's not the Redskins, Lounis. It's the football team.
I've said that like 5 different times. I'm so sorry, man. That's my bad.
It's the football team.
It's my bad.
You got the best name in football, and you can't even get it right. Maybe we need to smash some watermelons to get that through your head. Yeah, I was really close to taking the football team, but I think Steed's right, man. They look like crap until the Bengals lost their carry. You know, they were probably going to lose that game. I will give credit where credit is due, though. Alex Smith looks much better now that he's got a few games under his belt. And I think that the Redskins can make me eat my words here. I don't know why I'm picking the Cowboys. We have to pick them. According to my rules, we have to pick games. And I'm just really impressed out of what I saw from the Cowboys. The Cowboys, for the one time this season, looked like the better coach football team up against a hot Vikings team that was playing well. The Vikings played well that game. But I'm just hoping that that can carry forward and that they can beat a Washington football team that does not have talent on the offense. Their offense sucks. So let's go Cowboys. Let's smash some damn watermelons. But let's get into the game that everyone has been waiting for. My Steelers up against the Baltimore Ravens. The Steelers are 4-point favorites. And let me tell you, I hate that line because if there is anything we know about Steelers Ravens games is that they are decided by like 4 points or less. And I don't like trying to pick the Steelers at -4. I'll take the Steelers money line. I think we can win the game. But if I'm picking the spread, I have to take the Ravens just because I don't think either team can win this game by more than 4 points.
I'm seeing it's 4.5 right now on what I'm looking at.
It's 4.5. Even better. I'll take that extra half a point because in this kind of football game, every half a point is huge because this is a game that I think is going to be decided by less than 4 points. I think by a field goal. It feels like that kind of game. It feels like that kind of classic Steelers Ravens energy. So I will take any underdog. I will take any points in this football game.
Didn't the Ravens just have a lot of players test for COVID, like Mark Ingram and all them?
Mark, it doesn't
I was
matter.
about to bring up that point.
Doesn't matter. I don't care.
Wait a minute, you taking the
You know,
Steelers?
they're gonna have Judon the entire game this time because if you remember, he was ejected from the game last time out. And if you remember, in that second half, the Steelers' offense was able to get going after being practically shut out the first half. If it weren't for that pick six, the Steelers would not have had like any points the first half. But I think that the main focus is just, are the Ravens going to attack outside the numbers? We had a film analysis on them the other day. They did it a little bit more against the Titans. We saw they attacked. They had a little over and wheel from Andrews for a big touchdown, and they had they threw the ball to Des Bryant a little bit in 1-on-1. But is Greg Roman and that staff, are they going to still think that they can just do the same crap they did last year and just roll over football teams? Or are they going to start playing matchups and start throwing it to Des Bryant when he's in 1-on-1 coverage? Are they going to start throwing it outside the numbers when teams are playing three high coverage, cover 3 and whatnot? I don't know, but I hope not because I want the Steelers to win this game, but I think that getting 4.5 points is just way too many for a really talented Ravens team.
So you're taking the Ravens?
Taking the Ravens spread.
This is tough. I think going off Steed's point, they had I think the Ravens tested for COVID.
Who did? Sorry, you cut out again.
I think I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna pull up the exact number, but there were like a decent number of Ravens.
I thought it was
tested
just
positive.
Ingram and Dobbins.
I want to pull up the exact thing. Okay, so as of 5 hours ago, it was 5 players and 4 staff members tested positive.
Okay, well that changes things up a little. I thought it was just Ingram and Dobbins that tested positive.
Those are the only 2 that like we know of. The other 3 we don't know. So, but to your point, I remember you mentioned this to me. So it looks like Gus Edwards might be the starter. Gus Edwards has been pretty successful against Pittsburgh. Like he's run the ball pretty well against Pittsburgh. So I don't think it's as like huge a drop off as it may seem initially. Even with that, I think I'm taking the Steelers even with the Ravens having some points. I'll take the Steelers -4.5. This game's at home. I know it's not like a full, obviously, like attendance and everything, but the Ravens just look cold right now. Like they've been really struggling the last couple games, and this is a tough turnaround for this to be the week for them to flip it. On a short week going to Pittsburgh, a team that knows you extremely well, a team that Lamar has struggled against for most of his career. I think pretty much every time they've played, Lamar has struggled against Pittsburgh. It's just hard to like I see this being like, if I had to guess the final score, I'll say like 27-20 Pittsburgh. It looks like they're pretty much fully healthy. Nothing like new coming in this week. The receivers are still stacked. Deontay's healthy. Ebron's been getting going the last couple weeks. I'm taking Pittsburgh here, especially with everything that's going on with the Ravens. They can't practice. They're doing everything virtually. I'm taking the Steelers.
Yeah, this is a tough pick because I've been picking the Steelers pretty much all year. And it's been working out because, I mean, they are 10-0. But this is why the Ravens cover and they win this game. I think the Ravens win this game outright. It doesn't make any sense because they got all the players on COVID. They have not been playing well, and they're going up against one of the hottest teams in the NFL. That's why they win this game, and that's why the pick doesn't make sense. But it'll hit. According to C. Andrews on the score.
Oh my God! Shut up with this score stuff, Steve.
No, I want to hear Steve Andrews.
I don't think he made it past 5th grade English. Steelers has to lose this game. The whole world on the Steelers Vegas trap. Yeah, I mean that's all
It's
I have
Thursday,
right there.
dude. You gotta remember.
Yeah, everybody's
It's still
really
Thursday.
hammering the Steelers. Like this
It
line's going to
doesn't
move.
matter
I think
whether
even
you
more.
can practice or not. Like
I think
it's
this line
a
will get to
Thursday
5.
game.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a rivalry game. I know if there's even more players that are like big name players that get called out COVID, and hopefully not so, because the last few Thanksgiving Thursday night games have been terrible. But I like the Ravens here. Yeah, big win this week. They come back and they get back in this playoff because they really, really need this win because right now they're looking at it. If they lose this game, they drop to 6-5. You're talking about, are they even going to make the playoffs this year when everybody said they were a Super Bowl caliber team, which they still are. But, you got to start winning games to be that.
See, I think the Steelers win. The spread's +5 on DraftKings. Now, granted, I don't know what players have COVID, so I'm just assuming it's only Ingram and Dobbins. If it's more big name players, then yeah, the Steelers can blow them out. If Lamar Jackson isn't playing, then they're screwed. But at the end of the day, 5 points is way too many. I'll take them +5. I just think it's too many points. I think the Steelers win this game, but they win it really close. In classic Steelers-Ravens fashion, it's going to be a defensive football game. I think people are worrying too much about the Ravens offense to not remember that the Steelers offense has struggled to run the ball. We finally got our running attack going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you don't have production against the Jacksonville Jaguars, then that's more of a problem than anything. That defense sucks, and they didn't even have C.J. Henderson. So I think that, like we saw in the last game, people are a little bit too high on the Steelers' offense. I think we'll be able to score in the red zone, especially if the Ravens turn the ball over. But it's not like we're going to be moving the ball up and down the field, I don't think. That Ravens defense is super talented, and now that they have Judon playing the entire game, assuming he doesn't punch someone in or push the ref again, then that Ravens defense really scares me. It scared me the last matchup, which, I mean, we scored when we needed to. It's not like we were moving the ball a ton, but that's my pick for the game. Steelers money line, Ravens spread. Anyone got anything else to add?
Oh, I like my picks. I think.
All right. Well, let's move into. I've been hearing some stuff. I've been watching a whole lot of YouTube videos and seeing it. I know Pat McAfee talked about it. There are a whole lot of people pissed off at the announcers in football right now. Mainly the analysts or the self-proclaimed analysts, saying that they are not doing a good job of teaching people football, that a lot of the time they're just repeating what the play caller is saying, because usually you have the guy who's kind of calling out what's happening during the play, like, oh, and Ben Roethlisberger dropping right, pass to the left, Deontay Johnson catch. You have that guy, and then you have the analysis guy who's like, okay, they're in a a too high coverage here. This is what you're supposed to do. And, I do have a couple things to say on the matter. First off, I think that people are way too harsh on the analysts. It's a really tough job, and it's a very thankless job for the most part, unless you're Tony Romo and you're able to predict where the ball is going to go pre-snap. Everyone would basically say you suck for the most minor stuff. You can accidentally say the wrong name for some guy, and instantly people are going to think that you have 3 brain cells and are the stupidest person to ever watch a football game. But I also do think that there is some merit to these claims that the analysts aren't very good. I think it's clear that some of these guys aren't watching enough film before the games. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is that I think that a lot of these guys are neglecting parts of the game, mainly special teams. Special teams is an area that I think a lot of fans really don't know a ton about. I think there's a lot of simple things that can be explained, and Pat McAfee had a really good example where on the Packers punt that was returned for a touchdown against them by Jacksonville 2 weeks ago, the announcers said that the punter outkicked his coverage, which was just wrong. If you look back at the replay, there was terrible punt coverage by the Packers. There was 5 guys in a line, and that was the reason for the punt return being a touchdown. Not because the punter outkicked his coverage. Yeah, it was a low kick, and yeah, the kick was a little bit far for the amount of hang time. But at the end of the day, that was not the punter's fault for that touchdown. It was the punt return coverage. And it was fairly simple, He could have just broke down your basic punt coverage and the responsibilities of guys and the fact that they were wrong. Like most and they do on every other play where something goes wrong. If there's a sack, they usually say, "Oh, well, look at what this guy did wrong," or "Look at what this DN did." And I think that for special teams, for some reason, we just don't care. If there's a punt return for a touchdown, it's either the punter's fault or the punt returner juked out a bunch of people. There's no analysis on that front. And I agree with that. And I also do think that they could have some better personalities in the booth. And one last thing for ESPN, I don't know why you're still trying to do the 3-person cast system, the 3-person call system. It is super awkward. It really sounds like all the time people are fighting for a chance to talk. 3 people in the booth does not work. So can you just stop it? Just get someone like John Gruden back on Monday Night Football instead of trying to jam as many people in the booth as you can.
I agree with you. There's many games that whenever I watch games, unless it's like Romo and of course my boy Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels, like I'm not listening to like and I'll listen to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, but I'm just not really like in tune or paying attention to them. I'm just really paying attention to the game. I don't know. I've always been like that. I'm not a huge fan of announcers most of the time. Like you said, like they can make like the smallest mistake and it just piss you off. And I got past that to where like I'll just turn it off and I'll listen to the guys I like. But for ESPN, like they haven't got it right since Gruden left. I mean, Jason Witten was horrible, and you had the whole Booger Mobile mess, and Booger drawing penises on the computer screen. So I mean, I don't know really what ESPN needs to be doing all that, but
Head and Shoulders gives you up to.
Yeah,
I've liked Louis Riddick.
Yeah, he's all right. It's super awkward with 3 guys in the booth. Like, just have Louis Riddick as the analysis guy and then 1 play calling guy. Why they try to shove 2 analysis guys in there is so stupid, in my opinion. It really takes away from the broadcast. And I don't know, just lastly, I think that there are a lot of underrated announcers that, like, I forget who was calling the game. I wish I knew. But in that Browns-Eagles game, I was listening back to the broadcast in conjunction with the All-22, just because get a little lonely watching film sometimes. So you just kind of want to hear some voices and some other opinions. And I'll give them credit. They did a fantastic job, that crew. They were calling out a lot of the stuff that I was seeing on tape and a lot of the problems that we pointed out with the Eagles offense. And they didn't really get any credit. They're not going to be looked at guys like, oh, well, Tony Romo and all that. So I also do think that a lot of the good work that a lot of analysis guys are getting is being swept under the rug, especially when the mistakes are being looked at so much more than the positives. So yeah, there are a few bad apples, and there are. I think that guys like Joel Klatt and like Chris Collingsworth, for some reason, a lot of people don't like Collingsworth. I don't know why. Just actually watch his broadcasts, and you will learn a ton about football. I guarantee it. Stop getting caught up in the little stuff that he says, because yeah, he does say some obvious stuff, and yeah, he has a bunch of really old, dad jokes that he says. But when you watch his broadcasts and really pay attention, you will learn a lot about the game that's going on. Because guys like Romo and Collingsworth and Klatt are so good, it kind of does make the average guys look really bad. I will say that. But, I think that some people are being a little harsh, and I do think that they do have problems, but it's just kind of a select few guys and not everyone. I do think that there are a ton of people that really care and do watch the film and do a really good job. It's just, for some reason in the NFL, they have hired some really terrible analyst play callers and just won't get rid of them. I don't know why. And ESPN cut out the 3-person booth because it sucks.
I think we're forgetting also about the best in booth commentator, Keeb Talib, this season.
Didn't
I don't know
he
if you
just
guys
get his
missed that.
first broadcast the other day?
Yeah, he was at one of the games. I think it was a Lions game versus someone. I forgot exactly who. But no, it was just funny hearing him. But no, I think you guys covered it. I think sometimes it is tough because like you said, like not every guy can be like Tony Romo level good. And then a lot of the mistakes people find out, like these commentators are reacting in real time, like to most of this. It's not like they're getting like second opinions or being able to like look at something slow-mo unless they show a replay. Like most of these commentators, like right after the play, they're looking at it in real time where they may have missed something, may have just not seen something. Like, so I think at that point, it's kind of tough to put every mistake on them. I do agree with what Steed said. With ESPN's kind of been a mess last couple of years. Ever since they've lost the Gruden Tirico combo, it hasn't been the same.
Yeah, rip the Gruden Tirico. I really miss them. They were so good. But now Gruden's too busy, winning football games and getting our Raiders to the Super Bowl so we can get our party at Hooters.
Getting top 10 in the power rankings.
All right. Quit throwing shade out there.
He's a fraud Raiders fan.
Mm-hmm. We'll see next week.
All right. You when we get to the pick section, you taking Falcons money line again?
No, I'm taking Raiders -3. I got them on the board.
All right. Real quick before we get into the picks, I want to talk about Taysom Hill's first start. Just kind of wanted to hear y'all's thoughts on that because I thought that Taysom Hill actually looked pretty good throwing the ball. Yeah, his deep ball isn't great, but he did some really good stuff, especially throwing off platform. And he had a lot more success than I thought as a pure quarterback than expected. I think that a lot of people thought that they were just going to be doing a lot of gimmicky stuff, a lot of wildcat stuff. I think that the Saints proved a lot of people wrong in Taysom Hill's role as more of a pure quarterback. So I just kind of wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on how Taysom Hill performed as a quarterback in his first start.
I thought he did good. Maybe he exceeded my expectations. I really think he would do what he did. I'd give him like a C plus though. That first half, he did struggle to me, and he had like his numbers were inflated after that one underthrow that somehow Emmanuel Sanders like backtracked and caught and all that. But he got into a groove in the game once the running game really got going, and the Falcons couldn't just generate anything on offense. So I think he got very comfortable. But also just for a guy like Taysom Hill, I think he has to be in the right system, and I think Sean Payton is the right system. I'm not sure if he plays for many teams if he's able to accomplish what he did without like Sean Payton's offense. I'm still not really sold on him. After Drew Brees, I'm pretty sure this. I don't know if this is his last year or not, but I don't know if Taysom Hill is the guy in New Orleans.
Kind of going off him. I think one thing we see a lot with like these insanely mobile quarterbacks, where it's like their first start, defenses don't really know how to game prep for that. Like they don't. No one knows how Taysom Hill is going to be as a starting quarterback. So I kind of put the Falcons in a tough position. Like they don't know necessarily. Like they know he can run. I know he might not be like the best deep passer. But besides that, you're kind of just like seeing it for the first time. I could see Taysom Hill being someone where like once defenses get enough film on him, he's kind of like neutralized for the most part, and like teams are able to prep better for him. But for his first start, I thought he played pretty well. Like it's you can't complain about everything. He had a good completion percentage. He had a slow start, but he came on in the second half. I thought he played well. I just don't know how sustainable that's going to be.
Yeah, I think the other thing too that Steed touched on, which is a really good point, is that offense fits him. You know, especially when you have someone like Slant Boy and you have a quarterback that is good at throwing underneath. Like it's just a little bit of a match made in heaven. Yeah, he's not Drew Brees, but Taysom Hill was able to buy time a lot of the times and find an open man, which worked. It worked for their offense, and Steve was right. They were able to run the ball, and that was really the cherry on top was the fact that the Falcons offense wasn't able to move the ball at all, especially in the second half. So it's not like they forced the Saints offense to have to score points or put pressure on them. They were able to mainly just, go off the script and or go on the script and just kind of coast through the game. Just run the offense, not do anything crazy, don't turn the ball over. And then when they got into the red zone, that's when they were able to really take advantage of Taysom Hill's legs. So I think you're right. Mm-hmm. He wasn't tested. I think you were correct in your grade in giving him a C+. I'm just excited to see because you're going to have to rely on him for a couple more weeks and get some wins. But I think it was a big win, especially a divisional game. And the other thing, too, is just that, this is a Falcons team that generally plays pretty well against the Saints. I think that I was pretty impressed by the fact that as overall offense and defense and coaching and Taysom Hill, the Saints played a little bit better than I thought they were going to. This is a Falcons team that it was pretty hot, under the radar, but pretty hot, and they were neutralized. And Julio Jones was hurt, which doesn't help. And Lounis was right in that they don't have film on Taysom Hill, so it's hard to come up with a game plan because this is not your standard Saints-Falcons game where you can kind of have your regular old Drew Brees game plan. Let's just cover well on the back end, stop Alvin Kamara, and once you kind of initially stop the play, it's not like Drew Brees is going to extend the play. Well, you ran into that problem with Taysom Hill, where they initially stopped the play a lot of the times, but Taysom Hill was able to make something happen scrambling around, not necessarily down the field with his legs, but scrambling around and finding someone open and making a good throw off platform. So I think Lounis was right in that they kind of caught the Falcons off guard a little bit. So just wanted to touch on that really quickly before we get into the picks for this week. Week 12 picks, me and Steve, we both had a rough week 11. We are now both exactly 500 on the year. Steed, I believe, is 40-1. I am 49-2. So exactly 500. This is a big week 12 for us. So I'm going to start it off. I'm going to be taking the Rams -7 against the 49ers. This is an annoying pick for me because I really don't know the health of a lot of these guys on the 49ers. But after what I saw from the Rams last week And the fact that Jimmy G is not going to be starting for the 49ers, I just think that this is a game that the Rams win by double digits.
Yeah. Well, I said it earlier. I'm taking the Raiders -3. The Falcons team sucks. They're horrendous. They're not going to win a game. I say that, but they'll win. They're not going to win this week, and they're not going to cover. They're playing at home. They don't cover at home. They lose at home. Raiders -3. They easily win this by a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm going to be telling you on the Raiders -3. I think that this is a really good week for the Raiders. While the Raiders covered the spread last week, I picked the Chiefs in my teaser because I really didn't think the Raiders were going to win that game. It did surprise me, especially, this is a Raiders podcast, and the last time the Chiefs played the Raiders, I took the Raiders. Even though it was like a double-digit spread this time around, I thought the Chiefs were going to have a much better time against the Raiders, which they didn't. And give credit to Derek Carr where credit is due because, my God, he played phenomenally. And I think that that's going to continue this week. I think that the Falcons defense is going to struggle against the physicality of the Raiders, especially after seeing what the Saints were able to do with their running attack up against the Falcons. The only way I think that the Falcons win is if Matt Ryan is able to throw their way out of this game. But with Julio Jones' health in question, assuming I'm not sure he's going to play. So without Julio Jones, I think that the Raiders get a massive advantage this week. So I'm going to be telling you there. My next pick, I'm going to be taking the Thurs +4. I really like what I saw of the Thurs. I don't know about y'all, but I've been saying it week in and week out. This Panthers defense is underrated. They have an underrated group. Like, yeah, they're young. Yeah, they make mistakes, but they have a ton of talent on that defense. They went all defense in the draft, and it seems to have panned out. And the other thing is that their offense can move the ball. PJ Walker did a fantastic job. I just think that the Vikings pass defense, after seeing what Andy Dalton and the Cowboys were able to do, now you get a legitimately top half of the league passing offense where you should be getting Teddy Bridgewater back. I think that while the Vikings could win this game, I get 4 points and a really good matchup. I'll take the Thurs as a road dog.
Yeah, I have the Thurs as well, man, pretty much for the same points you made. Teddy Bridgewater coming back would be huge. PJ Walker makes it a little more iffy, but you're right. Their defense is very underrated, and coming in this year, a lot of people were doubting this defense. And what they do through the draft, they draft all defensive players, and it's really panned out for this young group. And I like what I've seen. Now, I'm hoping Derek Brown can stuff Dalvin Cook and neutralize him because Dalvin Cook looks like a man possessed this year. But I like the Thurs here at +4.5. They've been a good team to bet on this year.
I also think one thing that's been nice with them, at least recently, has been kind of like the final, like people have been waiting on it for years. Finally, Curtis Samuel's kind of starting to emerge as a legitimate weapon in their offense. So now they have like 3 legitimate, dangerous receivers, which I think is the reason they've been playing a lot better the last couple weeks.
All right, my next pick, I'm going to be going with a teaser. Teasers are hot again. Started
Teasers
off
are back.
hot, then got into a little bit of a lull. Now we're back hot. I'm going to be taking the Packers, a 6-point teaser, Packers -2.5 against the Browns, or against the Bears, and then the Browns -0.5 against the Jaguars. Just fade the Jaguars. That's all I got to say.
All right, my next pick, I'm doing an over-under. My over-under hit last week on Monday night. I'm doing an under in the Browns-Jags game, under 49 points. This game is going under. The Jags aren't going to score. The Browns are going to score probably somewhere around 20 points. I see this week as for the Browns, just kind of you just have to get up and just go out there and win this game. They're not going to do anything dramatic and score a ton of points against this Jags team, I don't think. Jags aren't going to score points because it's the Jags. Under 49 is the play here.
All right. I'm going to be taking. Oh man, I'm actually not a huge fan of this pick. Looking at it, so yeah, I'm scratch. I'm just going to get into my dog of the week here. Then I'm going to be taking my Titans this week as my dog of the week up against the Colts. Um, just
Mhm.
the Colts definitely got the better of the Titans last time they played, but this time around, the Titans coming off a really big win against the Ravens. Um, I think that we're just going to see a Titans team that's truly in that late season playoff form that we were seeing last year, especially if they're able to figure out some more things with their defense. I thought that we saw some really good signs out of them. Yeah, they had a few mistakes, but they're getting better. And I'm just not sure the Colts offense is going to keep up this level of production that they've been putting out. Even though Phillip Rivers has been looking good and their backs have been looking good, I think that they're going to cool off a little bit. So I'm going to be taking my Titans as the dog of the week.
I like that. I was debating Titans, but I think I'm gonna reach even a little more for my dog of the week. I'm gonna go Chargers over the Bills, plus 5.5, plus 210 on the money line. Chargers are gonna beat the Bills this week. Justin Herbert's gonna light up this Bills defense. He's been struggling in the secondary. And I think the Chargers defense can make enough plays, like we touched on earlier in the rankings. The Bills' running game has been suspect. I think the Chargers have enough pieces on the defense to neutralize that and keep that to where Josh Allen has to make enough plays so they can get a couple turnovers and help out Herbert. And Chargers are in a lot of these games. Herbert's been playing extraordinary. So I like a little upset, little trap game for the Bills. Chargers win this game outright.
I was thinking about taking the Chiefs, but I'm not liking that just because it's always tough to bet against Brady when he's a dog and people are down on him. So I'm going to be replacing that. I'm going to take the Broncos plus 5.5 against the Saints. I know the Saints just had a good win up against the Falcons, but I'm getting 5.5 for still an underrated Broncos team that has been really good against the spread this season. This is a Broncos team that has a really good a running attack that people are really underrating. And now, like we said earlier with the Taysom Hill thing, we get some film on Taysom Hill with a really well coached Vic Fangio defense. The Broncos, y'all burnt me the last time I took you, but now I'm getting more points up against a Saints team. But I get y'all at home. Let's just cover this 5.5, and let's get me back to positive on the year with my picks.
Yeah, I got the Broncos as well for those points. Just
I
like the
don't like that
Broncos
we're taking all
rushing
the
attack
same
is
picks
good.
again, Steed.
Are we?
I got a bad feeling.
Well, I got like two more picks that I don't think you're gonna take. Do you have any more
Oh yeah,
picks
I'm
after
I'm
this?
done.
Oh,
No,
you're done?
I'm done. I'm chilling. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm taking Chiefs minus 3.5. I know you said you scratched it. Chiefs minus 3.5. Bucks are fake. Uh, we've always talked about was Brady's downfall, just generate pressure. The Chiefs can easily do that. And of course, you get Patrick Mahomes. It's still just one of those things that the Chiefs like line is just this small. I'm always going to take them because we know how well they cover like games that are double digit or whatever. They cover at such high rate. So I'm going to take them minus 3.5. Then I'm going to go. I'm trying to find another over under. I'm going to go over in the Cardinals Patriots game over 49.5. Don't love it, just saw it, just going to ride it over 49.5. I'm going to take it. I originally had Cardinals minus 2.5. Then I thought, no, this has like a Patriots winning by like 3 written all over it. So I'm going to go over 49.5.
You got any picks you like this week, Lounis?
Like what I like the Chiefs minus 3.5, or yeah, minus 3.5 for them. I kind of like. I know it's a big number because Nick Foles is out. I like the Bears minus, or no, Green Bay -8. I honestly I like them for that. The Bears offense has been completely dead. I think the Packers are going to want to bounce back, so I like them minus. It's 8.5. I like them at that line. Um,
Wait a minute. Nick Foles is out, so Trubisky's back.
I'm not sure if
Trubisky's health
Trubisky's
is
back
in
from injury.
question too.
Dude, if Trubisky's playing, I'm taking the Bears.
I don't know if he is.
One line that I was thinking about taking, which I can't do it after trashing the Eagles offense so much, is that I actually do like the Eagles plus 5.5, simply
Dude, don't do
because
it.
taking them. But I'm saying that this is a home dog with a really good defense. And at the end of the day, I think that Carson Wentz, this may come off as a hot take, but I don't think Carson Wentz played as poorly as people think he did against the Browns. As we showed a lot of the tape from this week, I think a lot of the problems with that Eagles offense this week in particular, not all the other weeks, but this week, was with their offensive line and their playmakers. I actually think that Carson Wentz did finally, try to take what the defense gave him a little bit. Every other week before this, Carson Wentz was trying to be a hero. I think this week he kind of stepped back from that a little bit, for better or for worse, but that Browns defense was just getting home all night. This is a Seahawks team that, aside from last week, struggled with consistent pressure, not getting sacks. They have struggled with consistent pressure, moving the quarterback off of his spot. And I think that Wentz has shown, at least, that when teams struggle to move him off his spot, and when he doesn't move and start running out of the pocket and do stupid stuff, that he can tear up defenses and make good throws. That's been the positive for him this season. When he has time and he's able to survey the defense and he's comfortable in the pocket, he's able to make throws because the guy's got really good arm talent. So, but I'm not taking the Eagles, and I would want more points than 5.5. I do think that is the line that I was thinking about it, but I think that if you're someone that's really on the Seahawks, I would think twice, especially, from what the Eagles historically have been able to do against that Seahawks team.
A fair point. It's going to be an interesting game because the Eagles' problem has always been against the blitz, and the Seahawks can't really pass rush for much. I know they were pretty successful last game with Dunlap, but I don't know if that's going to happen this week. I think I'd probably have the Seahawks winning that game, but I think I'm with you with the Eagles plus 5.5. Like I think it ends up being like a 3 or 4 point win for the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm not taking the Eagles as my dog of the week again. And the problem with the Eagles is that
There's a lot.
they just do so much stupid crap, and they turn the ball over more than every other team, that it's like they can go out there, and if you turn the ball over 2 times against that Seahawks team, you're going to lose. But
Yeah.
I do think that Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson are finally starting to address some of their major issues. And, things were going wrong against the Browns. Now, this is going to be a week where they're not going to be able to consistently run the football, I don't think, against Jamal Adams and against that really stout Seahawks run defense. But I think that this is a week where Carson Wentz may actually be able to find his groove against a historically bad Seahawks pass defense. Don't let too much recency bias make you forget about how bad this Eagles pass defense has been. But if that's all our picks and that's all the segments, that's going to be it for this episode. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Lounis, thank you so much for coming on. Love you, man.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, let's hope to see a little bit more production out of your Eagles offense, and I hope all those problems that we pointed out can get fixed, because I do want to see this Eagles team make the playoffs and win their division. I do think it'd be interesting. But if you want some more content than what we have, check out thirdand20.com and go out and check out the Third and 20 Dynasty Podcast. If you're into Dynasty Fantasy Football, they've got an episode that comes out every week. So they have some more consistent content going on over there. But once again, thank you so much for listening, and peace out.